Hello and welcome to the NextPlay Spoilercast, a series where we talk about your favorite video games and films in full spoiler territory. Today, we are talking about the third episode of HBO's The Last of Us Season 2, titled The Path. I'm your host, Brad, and joining me today is Jamie.
Hello.
And Berto.
Hello.
Alright, boys, let's get straight into the episode discussion. The episode starts very shortly after the last episode ended, with Joel's body being cleaned up by a nurse. Tommy enters the room and takes over the cleanup in a rather emotional scene. He says to Joel's lifeless body, "Give Sarah my love." A very touching addition to the universe. Jamie, what did you think of it?
It was a great scene leading up to it, like just the subtlety of the acting from Tommy's actor. But yeah, once he said that line, I looked at the missus and we're both just like, shit. We're both like welling up. Yeah, that was a great little line, and yeah, because I think people forget, that was his niece and everything like that. So yeah, that was a really well acted scene. I like this edition.
Yeah. Beto, what about you?
Yeah, it was fine. I think it was a good. Yeah, I'm sorry. I rolled my eyes a little bit and said you were crying. I was like, here we go, crying.
It was
crying
sad.
episode again. It was sad, but it was well acted, and let's just keep going. Really, yeah.
Well, I like how they're portraying Tommy. I feel like in the games, the relationship between Joel and Tommy got lost a little bit. Like they didn't really feel as brotherly as they do in the TV show. You obviously see, I mean, you in the game you do see how upset Tommy is that Joel died, but you don't really see this rawness. You just see kind of the revenge side of it. So yeah, I think so far out of the show, between Tommy and Dina, their characters are getting fleshed out the best. If you compare the video game with this. Meanwhile, in Jackson's hospital, Ellie wakes up with Dina by her side, but in a complete state of shock and screams with a sense of trauma. Great acting by Bella Ramsey here. It was, yeah. What a way to start the episode, though. How did you guys feel about this scene?
Yeah, the wake up scene was cool. I liked how raw it was, like that sort of like she didn't know where she was, and yet, like you said, it was a good scene of how she portrayed. Because in the games, I touched on it last week. I think we just sort of cut to Ellie that night. I think after everything gone, and she's just sitting in her bedroom alone. I think this is much better, like having her with that raw reaction over what she just saw. It really sort of stems in follows the fact like later on in part 2, she's got those PTSD flashbacks and everything like that. She a big bang and that's it. This sort of like kicks it off, sort of sowing the seeds early. I think for that. So I think that's a nice once again addition that the game didn't have.
Yeah, a bit more realistic, for sure. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's a traumatic event.
Yeah. Berto, what did you think about this edition?
Yeah, exactly what Jamie said. I think this was perfect for the PTSD you see later on. I think in the game, I wouldn't say the PTSD caught me by surprise, but it kind of I don't think it was properly conveyed, in my opinion, because it wasn't conveyed so early in the game. Like you saw her struggling, but not to this effect.
Yeah,
and it's quite similar to Abby's PTSD. They see
it is.
moments.
I think it's these additions that help justify Ellie's actions for the rest of the story. You it just shows how much pain she's in because of what's just happened to her and what happened to Joel. You don't see it that directly in the game. Like, it's not really shown, like, as well as this.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Before we go to the time jump, I just wanted to mention the change in the opening credits as well. How
Yes.
it normally showcases both Joel and Ellie sort of before it starts to show, and now we just see her solo on her own. It makes sense that that would be the case, but I like the just added touch that they did that because it does just hammer home once
I
again
missed
she's
that.
alone.
I didn't even know that. I must because I pressed skipped. Like,
Yeah, I
skip.
skipped them too.
I always watch it. I love the soundtrack in that opening, so I always watch it. But yeah, it's a nice little touch.
Do you cry to it too? Oh no.
God.
No comment. You know, we're moving on to the time jump now, Berto. Come on.
Yes, to the time jump. So it's 3 months later after everything we just spoke about. And we see the townsfolk of Jackson well into rebuilding buildings. I'm guessing the wall as well. Yeah. And then we go to Ellie, who appears to be housed in some sort of medical center where a doctor is ready to discharge her. But she still needs the approval of one person, and that's Gail. Ellie and Gail discuss the last interaction Ellie had with Joel before he died. Plus, Gail asks Ellie about her own interaction with Joel in episode 1, where he told Gail that he saved Ellie. Ellie doesn't really reveal too much, well, anything at all. Like, I feel like in that whole conversation, like, you can tell, like, Ellie knows what Gail wants her to say. She's like playing into that just to get discharged, which she eventually does get discharged. Yeah, I thought that was a great scene. Really loving Gail's character, like more than I thought I would.
Yeah, she's a fantastic addition. I can't remember the actress's name off the top of my head. I do apologize.
Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah, she's brilliant throughout, even her scene with Tommy later on, which I guess we'll probably touch on. But yeah, the facade's back up with Ellie now. She knows what she wants, and that's revenge, and she's doing whatever she needs to do to be able to get into a position where she can enact that. So, yeah, because you see when she leaves the room, she's finally out. Got Gail away from her. She like lets down that facade, and you can see how much she's like struggling with what's going on.
Yeah. Do we think like Gail was like actually being sincere, or was she trying to like, I don't know, do something with a bit more malice? I couldn't really tell, and I watched it the second time, and I feel like the first time I thought there was like some kind of intent behind it, but the second time I watched it, I was like, oh, maybe she was just genuinely just doing her job.
I think she's tired. I think she's
right.
Yeah,
I think even well, we can talk a lot more about her later on.
yeah,
But
we will be.
I love her character, but I think she's exhausted. She mentions it. Like, who does she go when she's down? You know. So,
Yeah,
but I'll we'll touch on it a little bit more with this scene specifically. She sees through the BS, and I think she just doesn't care.
yeah. She's just like, I can't be bothered.
I can't stop you. Yeah, it's like, you go ahead. You're the same as Joe, basically. Like,
yeah, she knows like nothing she says is gonna change what Ellie is thinking. So
Yeah, she kind of knows she's not going to get the truth out of Ellie anyway. So
yeah. All right. So then we go from the hospital to Joel's house, where there is a memorial set up by Jackson for Joel. Ellie finds a box inside Joel's house with his belongings, including his watch and his favorite gun. She also smells one of Joel's jackets and has a breakdown, which brings us another heart-wrenching scene. Can relate to that. The when someone you love dies and then you smell their clothing, it's like, I don't know, it just opens something up. It's an emotional thing, like, because like you're genuinely never gonna smell that person again, or just like, yeah, be around them ever again, and it just like opens that up. Jamie, how did you feel about the scene? Did you cry as well?
I didn't cry in this part. I'd ran out from the opening scene.
True, yeah.
I think what I liked in here, so in the games from memory, she wears the watch and she takes the gun with her. In
Yeah.
here, she makes like a sort of active choice of Joel's love for his daughter and everything. She skips over that. She just pushes it to the side, grabs the gun, and I think that's a nice visual representation of where her mind's at. Where it's like you've got love and you've got hate, and she's chosen revenge and hate. So I think that was done well. I still hate the fact to think that that watch maybe never gets used again in this universe because like she wore it out in part 2. Surprised Tommy didn't take it. You know, he's got that attachment, as we said, you know, being a family member and everything. But yeah, it was a really powerful scene. This with the smelling and like her trying. As soon as she heard Dina rock up, she's constantly trying to wipe away the tears because she doesn't want anyone to see that side of her. So yeah, I think Bella did a fantastic job throughout this episode. To be fair,
Better.
Nothing really much to add.
Yeah.
To be honest, I can't really talk on that personal note like you have. So
Yeah.
sad.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, Dina does arrive at Joel's house with a peace offering, a box of cookies. Dina reveals to Ellie that she does in fact know the names of the people who killed Joel and where they are headed. Ellie is furious that Dina hid this from her, but Dina explains that she didn't want to upset Ellie during her recovery over the last few months, and that it's important to know if you want to find someone and you only know where they're going, to let them get there first. And then obviously she goes through the names of Abby's group, show her the WLF symbol, and who the wolves are. So kind of, yeah, kind of like maps out everything. Love that Dina kind of explained her choice not to reveal it to Ellie, like why she didn't reveal it, because like that absolutely makes sense. If you don't know where they're going, sorry, if you don't know where they are, but you know where they're going, just let them get there. Like how?
yeah. Plus, she knows Ellie's an idiot and would just run out of the hospital.
Yeah, for sure, by herself.
I did like the touch. Dina is just a throwaway line during this thing where she's like, "I loved him too," you know. It's just like the way that they've sown those seeds of that relationship. And like I said, we had that 5-year time jump. You know what I mean? Joel and Dina were close. Joel said she's like a kid to me as well. So I think that also stems and it emphasizes why she's going on this journey, because she doesn't really have that established relationship with Ellie at this point like she does in the games. She almost does it because they're already in a relationship, and that's what sort of forces her to go with Ellie. Whereas here, she wants her own revenge as well, due to everything she went through during that the whole thing. Like, she was put unconscious throughout it, so she probably feels guilt, rage just as much as Ellie.
Yeah. Better.
I love all of those scenes. I love all
Yeah.
the scenes together. I think she's so great. Yeah, I mean, you guys are touching on all the main points, really. Just, I like how it's logical. Like, it came, you know, TV shows can be a little bit unrealistic, and obviously some are in some aspects, but it made logical sense as to her intentions of not revealing these things, and me going, yeah, that everything makes sense because you're popping off right now, so you might as well just, you know, get better and then go.
Yeah. So the two head over to the stables, and Ellie and Tommy discuss going after Abby's crew, and Tommy explains it needs to go through Maria and the council first. Pretty standard stuff. Yeah. Straight after that, we get our first introduction to the Seraphites, or Scars. We see a group of them trailing through the forest. One of the Seraphites talks to a little girl about how to communicate with whistles and how their prophet died 10 years on, but they still keep her spirit alive. The Seraphites encounter an unknown danger. It's safe to assume that it was WLF, and they hide in the overgrown forest. The little
Yeah.
girl asks if they are demons, before, yeah, it is revealed that it is the wolves. So, how do we feel about this introduction to the Seraphites? Because in the game, they were portrayed less humanly.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree with that.
portrayed as more like I know it's a cult, or you could assume it's a cult, but we don't really get personality from them, and like you don't really ever see them either. Not like that. Like you see them like
Mm.
scurrying around bushes and behind trees. Like they're very out of sight. So it was weird to see them walking in a group. How did you guys feel about the Seraphites introduction, Birdo?
I forget the game when it comes to these ones. I remembered from this. My memory is really hazy. Jamie, you might not need to back it up, but I think it's introduced through violence, like through a
Mm,
gameplay section of violence, isn't it? Like you never see them, like you said, Brad, interact. And I
Mm,
loved the way that they interacted. They humanized them.
mm,
mhm.
I think they tried to humanize them in the game nearing the end before they all go wild,
perish.
right? Pretty much. But I loved it. I obviously we won't touch on what happens afterwards, but
Mm,
to see them again later. Um, I love the whole speech with the daughter about having if the weapon makes you feel a little bit more safer, but it's actually distance. It's things that you believe in. I really like this. I wish they did this in the game a lot more to better
mm,
understand perspective. But
Mm.
again, you know, because he has his time again to kind of retell his story, I think this kind of works really well.
mm.
But I forget why they have the scars. I completely forgot about their
And
um,
it's just
prophet.
like a
Completely
yeah,
forgot.
yeah, like they're literally like just a cult that exists. Like there's I don't really think it was kind of like maybe like another shared like antagonist that Ellie and Abby both had.
Mm.
I mean, even though they already share like clickers and raiders as well, I don't really know why they added these in, but I mean I'm glad they're there. Like I don't wish they weren't. So, Jamie, what do you think?
Birdo used the word that I was going to use, which is perspectives. I think like the whole point of like you do Ellie and Abby and understanding why each of them is doing what they're doing. It's all about perspectives and seeing it from another point of view. And yeah, we didn't get that with Seraphice. Really, we see them as you said. It was like it's. I think it's Ellie runs into them first. We hear the whistle, and
Mm.
then she gets shot with an arrow, and then it's combat straight away. And then we
Mm,
get sort of touched on it a little bit more with Abby because we get Isaac sort of explaining, oh, we hate the Seraphites, and there was like a truce between the two groups before one of them broke it. But we only really get a little bit more details in the backstory from maybe Lev and his sister.
yeah.
So seeing this again, it humanizes the group. It lets you know that even though they have different beliefs, they're still people. It's still a dad just trying to comfort his daughter. Um,
Mm,
and yeah, I think it really does hammer home that whole concept of perspectives, and it's just like understanding, putting yourself in someone else's shoes to see their point of view. So once again, I'm repeating a lot of what Berto said, but it allows them to add additional elements to sprinkle throughout the show that really does sort of give you more to the entire world of part two. And really, I have no sort of critiques to any of the additional scenes they put in throughout all the episodes so far.
It works.
mm,
It does. Yeah.
mm. I feel like this season they're adding so much in, like compared to season one. If you take out episode, oh, I no, I guess they did add a lot in season one as well. But I don't know. I'm just really loving what they're adding here. Like, yeah, the what they're adding here really expands like the world. Whereas I feel like season one, even though I loved that episode, I keep forgetting what episode number it is. It might be episode 3. That was I don't know. Like, was that it? It didn't really expand the world that much. Like, it expanded some characters that we knew from the game, but not necessarily the world itself. Oh, and I love that episode. Like, I'm not saying I don't wish it was there, because I do. But yeah, really loving this season overall as well.
I feel like it's because it's a lot more dense. Like the biggest issues that we've had from the very beginning are us three and our perspectives of how the storytelling affected us in different ways. One felt it deeply, the other felt it not as deep, and then there's me who's a little bit less than you two. So, like, I think by adding these little bits, it seems to me, and then when you see, his interviews, as in he being Neil Druckmann here, by the way, um, it's like he's got a do-over. Like he can look at it again and go, yeah, couldn't really do this. I could probably, tie this back to where I want it to be. Because I think you can't really, I mean, you could redo the game again, but you don't want
No,
to.
thank
Obviously.
you. No, no.
I think it's also like these long scenes where they can just flesh out characters that we don't know. Like, how well does that translate over to a video game? Like, I saw an interview he did where he was talking about that. He's like, you don't want to keep people bogged down with long cutscenes. You want to get them going. You got to give them the next objective, next combat sequence. You got to keep the player interactive and doing something. So being able to just sit down and just sort of just linger in it a little bit, and to expand on those things. Like, this whole section of her leaving takes probably about 2 hours in the game, and we've already dealt with 3 episodes before she's left. So it's being able to flesh out so much more and just add sort of more stakes and more reasons as to why everyone is doing what they're doing and how they're acting. So I think that's why it just does a better job, I think, so far.
Yeah, but tell that to like Kojima. You know what I mean?
He loves the movie length cutscene.
He does.
I think they're just replacing the gameplay elements with fleshed out scenes and extra world building, which translates to TV very well.
Yeah.
Right, so moving on from the Seraphites for now. Back in Jackson, Ellie asks Jesse, who is now on the council, if she has his vote, and he says he can't discuss it with her. Yeah, that might be a bit of foreshadowing there. Straight into the council meeting, a Jackson resident called Rachel argues that the town will be left vulnerable if a team go out and hunt down Abby's crew. Another man called Carlisle argues that revenge is not the answer and that we should show mercy. Seth interrupts and argues that we should go after them, saying they'll come back because they didn't make them pay. And now it is Ellie's time to put her case forward, and while she gives a compelling argument basing it on justice, the council ultimately voted no, 8-3. So, just quickly, do we think Jesse voted no?
No,
question.
I think he voted yes. I think it was
Really?
Again, it's just interpreted like to actually go for the revenge. I think it would have been the 3 yeses would have been Tommy, Maria, and Jesse.
Oh yeah, that makes
See,
sense.
I don't think Maria would have voted yes.
I think she was convinced by Ellie's performance. Now, I say performance because I don't think Ellie in this state, she heard what Jesse said of just like, no one's going to listen to you if you're angry.
Yeah.
So I think it sort of once again showed the extent she's willing to go for revenge. She's willing to put herself out there, write it all down, act all civil. I don't think she had much truth in a lot of what she was saying. That
No.
we're here as a family. We're all town. You guys have been there for me. I'll be there for you. I think it was just a song and dance to get what she wanted. That's how I interpreted it,
Well,
anyways. So
Gail agrees with you, as she says in the next scene. Berto, did you have anything to add about the council scene?
I loved it. I loved the. It just. I kind of laughed a little bit because I was like, "Oh, this is just a forum of, The Last of Us Part 2 after it got released. People yelling at each other saying, revenge is bad, and, you're doing it for this reason." So I found the echo chamber similarities quite funny. But again, for me, as someone who wanted revenge and still does, I was like, hell yeah, man. You got to go out there, you got to make it a thing. But I never thought about the question you asked. I don't know what he would have voted for. I think he would have voted for not to go, actually.
Yeah.
Don't think it's. I think it's one of those things for him. Like, it's home, and unfortunately, things happened, and the bigger case of Jackson is bigger than one person. So,
Yeah. I might go back and rewatch it because I feel like the notes were passed down in a certain order, and maybe I'll try and work out who voted what and see if it lines up. Unless they shuffled them afterwards off camera, who knows?
I
So
also, I just want to just say quickly, I think the Seth stuff is interesting. They're really giving a
it
character
is,
that was
yeah.
like
They
throwaway.
sure are.
He's just getting this whole backstory. And I did see there was another quote where I think Druckmann said they're going to actually fill in his backstory at all. So I still think there's going to be a flashback episode where we find out Gail's partner and maybe Seth and some of his backstory and everything. But yeah, unexpected. I do like the actor. He's been in some shows I've watched.
I
And
do
he
too.
killed that performance.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
I was
really
like, hell yeah,
unexpected.
let's go get
I was like,
revenge.
man, yeah, he's nailing it. But yeah, very interesting that they've just given a random character that you kind of only remember from the dance scene and the sandwiches, and that's it.
Yeah. Redemption arc for Seth.
Yeah,
We
it
love
really
to
is.
see it. All right, Tommy and Gail are at a children's baseball game where they discuss Ellie and that Tommy thinks she's going to do something stupid. Tommy thinks Ellie is going down the same path Joel did, but Gail explains that Ellie was already down that path, walking side by side. And we're going to go back to your point before, Berto, where you
Yeah.
said, well, Tommy says, I can imagine you've been like busy, like really busy lately. And Gail's like, yeah, and I'm meant to see someone when I'm like, as part of her job, a psychotherapist usually has to see their own psychotherapist with all the like trauma dumping on them. But
Yeah.
she's got no one, so she just deals with it with booze and weed. So
Yeah.
good for
Spending on
her.
drugs.
Love that for her. Yeah, I can't imagine how. Like, I feel like she's got this like really big cement wall up, but like I reckon she's struggling inside. How do we feel about this scene? Another great scene. Jamie?
I think.
Oh, sorry,
Okay.
Beto.
No,
Yeah,
Jamie,
you go.
I was just going to
Someone
say.
go.
I'll go. I'll go. I just wanted to say, like, to kind of like close off the point that I made earlier about her. Like, I think she's just so over it. Like, she's just done, dude. Like, she's seen, I hate saying it, but she's seen the shit. She's seen how far, how low will you go to get what you need in this world. And as it turns out, morality and ethical standards, it's not even part of it. It is you do or you don't to live or to survive. This is what you have to do. And I think for someone who works in cases that are grey, because the world is grey, living in a grey zone needs to have you need a balance. You can't live in grey your whole life. You need to restructure yourself almost. So even in the scene, she's drinking, and almost in all scenes, she's either wanting a drink, doing a drug, having drugs, or some form of like taking that mental
She's living the
step up.
life. No.
She is, but I think with Ellie, like she knew Ellie was who Ellie is before she even got there. And the same
Mm,
with Joel. Like
mm.
she's dealing with people that she's just over with, I reckon. And yeah, I think her wall is starting to just be like, you know what? Whatever. They'll do what they do anyway. It's who they're meant to be.
Mm. I still think like she could technically retire as the psychotherapist, but I think she's doing it because she has to, like, because
There is no one.
there is no one else. So like, I feel like not that she has to. I feel like she feels obligated to.
Hmm.
And it kind of gives her like a sense of purpose after Eugene died too. So it's
Love to see how
interesting.
he died. I really do want to see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really hope we get a flashback episode. Well, like because that'll be like more of Pedro as well. So,
Yeah.
Jamie, what did you think of this scene?
Like the scene overall, I'm gonna focus on Tommy here. So it's almost looks like because I'm still confident he's gonna end up in Seattle. That's still gonna happen. I think the way he's
Mm,
getting there is just a little bit different than in the games. So
mm,
it seems like he's gonna be almost motivated in Joel loved Ellie. I need to protect her for him. That's what I think they're going to do with the angle of why he goes there. And this whole conversation, I don't think would have happened if that's not where we're going.
yeah,
Whereas he was just fueled by complete vengeance. Like I'm pretty sure he dipped before Ellie and Dina did. He was just
Yeah.
gone.
It was
He
at
was already
first.
torturing people. Yeah, he just wanted revenge. So
mm,
I think it's an interesting arc that Tommy's going on, and as you said, him and Dina I think have been my two favorite characters so far throughout these 3 episodes in total. I think it's interesting to see that. Yeah, I think he's going to go there, and his whole motivation is Joel's thing that he loved the most was Ellie, and to keep Ellie alive is my way of honoring Joel. That's how I think they're taking it, which I think is an interesting way to just get to the same point, but just the journey's different.
well, it's also like just to keep like Joel's spirit alive too, is to keep Ellie alive as well. Like I reckon he would see Ellie and think of Joel straight away. So,
Mm.
Yeah.
back at Ellie's house, we see her packing up for her revenge mission. Dina arrives and asks Ellie what exactly her plan is. And when she finds out Ellie isn't as prepared as she thinks, takes over and constructs a more realistic plan. Yeah, it kind of shows how much Ellie isn't really like thinking straight about what she's actually gonna do. I
No.
think I think it was like Dina was like, "Oh yeah, so how are you getting to Seattle?" And she's like, "Oh, Southwest or something." Like that was it.
Yeah, Dina's like, you're stupid. Like,
Yeah.
let's actually have a plan. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I also thought it was hilarious that Dina was like, "You need to take those Converses off," like poking fun at the fact that she wore Converses for the entirety of The Last of Us Part Two. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, it is a little good nod there as well. So Ellie and Dina take off on their adventure with the help of Seth, again
Yeah.
helping out, um, who helps them with some resources, including a horse. Great scene there.
Yeah.
We kind of see Seth and Ellie like shake hands as they're leaving too.
Which
Yeah.
is good. She should
Mm,
be nice to like. I know he was a dick, but he's trying to help her now.
yeah. I don't think Ellie's like fully sold on him yet. Like he's like, "Oh
It's a
yeah,
reluctant handshake.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'd come with you, but I was part of Friendly Fire." And Ellie's like, "Are you sure it was friendly?"
Mm.
um, yeah. So there we are. They're on their adventure. Only took 3 episodes.
We got
Pretty.
there.
Yeah, it didn't drag out as much as I thought it would, to be honest. I mean, this easily could have just been like the first season, and where Joel died could have been the end of season 2. So I'm glad we're going down this path. On the first stop Ellie and Dina take in their journey is at Joel's grave south of Jackson, where Ellie sprinkles Joel's coffee beans onto his grave. Another heartwarming scene. Beautifully shot too, like that paddock and all that was great. Jamie, did you cry in this scene?
I only welled up at the first scene with Tommy. All right. No, I did.
That's a
I like
better
the touch of.
disclaimer.
I like the touch of the coffee beans here.
Yeah.
Little nod to what the character loved.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that the grave site is like so far out of Jackson, where I'm pretty sure in the game it's in the town.
Yeah, it's like down the road from his house.
Yeah. Yeah. Not sure what that change was for, but yeah, we'll never know, will we? So we get a bit of a montage on day 1 of their journey, traveling through different landscapes before their first night where the girls set up camp. Dina asks Ellie how good she was at kissing on New Year's Eve. Dina tells Ellie that she's gone back to Jesse and the two talk about him. So, in regards to Dina, are we going to talk spoilers about the game in that regard?
I would say so. Spoiler cast. I'm
Yeah,
happy to do
true.
that. We can give a
All
spoiler
bets are off,
warning.
right?
We will
All
talk
right.
about the game.
Bets are off.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you haven't played the game and you're listening or watching, skip about 2 minutes. All right. So Dina's obviously pregnant, right? Did we get that from when she threw up? But
I
then
thought
she
she
threw
said
up
she
because
was.
she didn't specifically say she was pregnant, though, did she? No.
Did she?
No, she didn't say it.
No, because
during that
Ellie would be
scene, no.
pissed off.
No, because I was thinking how they were going to get here because of
Yeah.
that time jump. I was thinking that throughout. I'm like, I remember saying to the missus when we watched it, I'm like, oh, maybe they're not doing the pregnancy angle. And it wasn't until she said, oh, I had gone back to Jesse. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, they are still doing it. And I think the throw up, yeah, that was obvious. But I don't think it's not until they actually get to the theater where she says, oh, like, I'm pretty sure I'm late. I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And that's when
right.
Ellie's like pissed at her, like, why would you come and be like a liability?
Yeah.
I've got this revenge mission. So,
Yeah.
I was wondering throughout the first half of the episode, I'm like, we still heading that way? Yeah, they're just, once again, it's like getting to the same point, but just different journey sort of thing.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, the next day, the two come across the area where we saw the Seraphites earlier in the episode. Dina walks off the path to investigate and finds the whole group have been not slaughtered, but they're all dead. And she comes back and throws up on the side of the road. Ellie investigates, and we are shown that everyone from that group of Seraphites are dead, including the little girl we saw earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Goes against what Abby was preaching, how she was saying Isaac always says we don't kill anyone if they're unarmed or, not a threat.
yeah,
So to kill a child, like, obviously, they're a little, what would you say, loose on the commandments that they follow, the WLF.
do it well. Like, we're assuming this was just like a random like patrol of WLF. We're not assuming this was Abby and her friends, are we?
Oh, no. I just meant the
okay.
group.
I didn't think
Yeah.
so. I
Yeah,
thought it was,
okay.
just a
big-
normal.
Well, yeah,
patrol.
I guess because Ellie and Dina don't really know that, like, how big WLF are. They are assuming that it is Abby and her friends that did this. So I mean, it kind of just gives them more of a reason to go out and kill them, hey? Like, if they're gonna kill children, well, Ellie thinks she's fine killing children, so gives more of a reason to go out and get them, I guess, more than just the revenge aspect.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised that they all died. Like, I thought maybe we might follow that girl and her dad, if that was her dad, a bit more into the season, but yeah, it was not to be.
No,
I think
they
that
did.
was the point.
Yeah.
To kind of like show you how fragile the ecosystem of life is in a way here. You know, it doesn't really matter which side you're on. One minute you're hearing a beautiful speech with your dad, and the next minute you're not. Like
I mean,
it's
it also shows like the brutality of WLF too, like to
yeah.
people that might not know. And like obviously we see
Were they
like
that brutal in the game? I forget.
they still had like military grade weapons and stuff. So
Why did they have that again?
they um
Was it they? Did they get them from Fedra? Like what was left of
yes,
Fedra?
yeah.
Because I
Cuz
think Isaac. Sorry, is part of it. In the trailer, I believe it was like looked like a flashback scene. You saw him still wearing his little Fedra
yeah.
badge. So that's my guess. It was just like how we saw in the first episode of the whole show. Where they had a Fedra outpost. I guess they sort of
Hmm.
overrun and just took everything. That's my assumption anyway.
Yeah, because a lot of the major cities, from my understanding, had like big Fedra
Outpost.
bases, like military base type things. And I guess if they got overrun or overtaken, WLF have just taken everything over and sprayed WLF on everything,
Yeah, okay.
including like the tank things. But I believe that's how they've come to acquire all that. So now Ellie and Dina are just outside of Seattle as of the ending of the episode, and they say that WLF must be small if they haven't had anyone shoot at them yet, which aren't they in for a world of shock there? We then get a scene with Manny, who is on a lookout and gives the all clear for a military grade patrol to move across Seattle. And then that's the end of the episode there. So,
Hmm.
really moving fast. Well, literally going to be in Seattle next episode. Everyone's going to be in Seattle. It's, yeah, moving very quickly. And there's what?
Four
Seven?
left.
4 left. Yeah, 4 episodes left. So, overall, what did you think of this episode, Jamie?
So I think I said before the podcast, I think it's the weakest of the three, but that doesn't mean it was necessarily bad. I just think episode 2 was my favorite, followed by episode 1. Not too far off, I think. I still really did enjoy the first episode, just how many pieces it was moving around. I would say this one there's a few great scenes that I really liked, which I've already expressed throughout the show. But it was a few things where I personally would have liked to have seen a little bit more of the fallout at Jackson instead of just the 3-month time jump. I understand why they did it because you need to get a move on. I understand that, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more fallout. Maybe actually get I'm guessing they did a funeral scene for Joel and it was all off camera and everything like that. But I kind of wanted to see and linger in that space a little bit more with the fallout of the whole siege of Jackson. And like I once again I understand why they did the big montage scene, which cinematography wise was lovely. I love all the shots they did when it was Ellie and Dina moving to Seattle. Looked gorgeous. But again, in the game, you're getting these little conversations along the way, and you feel like you're doing that sort of big journey alongside them. So we sort of skip that over here a little bit. You get a few scenes here and there where they're just sort of chatting along the way, but yeah, I think it was an episode of 2 parts, and I loved the Jackson stuff. And then once they left, I probably didn't love it as much just due to that. I know we're still sowing the seeds and we'll see how everything sort of pays off going forward, but yeah, I didn't hate it. I'd probably give it like a 7. I think overall, if I was to give it a score, still good episode.
What about you, Berto?
I'm in the opposite of what you said, Jamie. I disagree with the biggest point that you made, which was that, well, not that I disagree, it's just your perspective is different to mine. I felt when they left it to be better than when they were stuck in Jackson and all that. Like I feel like the anchors now come off, the adventures going, there's a lot more mystery. 100% with the cinematography, loved it all. Whereas you thought the small details, because you're probably more detail oriented than I am. The little conversations here and there of the characters. I just loved that whole montage because it reminded me of the game. I was like, man, I wish I played more in this universe, and I think that's one of the biggest issues I had with watching this episode was it looked so good to be in this post-apocalyptic world that I love anything to do with post-apocalypse, any video game, any book, any medium. I like that meme with Lisa Simpson, like Lisa Simpson with the coffee cup. Like give it to me all. I want it all. And I think watching all this just made me realize how much of a wasted potential that this world can have on so many stories for a Last of Us, expanded universe. Even like it really screwed with my mind a little bit because I was like, man, this is so beautiful. The trees, how they're just like
It
the
definitely
mysteries and
it's
everything.
aesthetically it's so different to The Walking Dead. Like it's so green and overgrown and
Yeah,
vibrant still, whereas The Walking
yeah,
Dead it was like literally
Decayed.
everything's dead. Yeah, it's
yeah,
very
yeah.
not
Stale.
washed out, almost
Yeah.
sepia tone. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yes.
it's
whereas here nature's literally taken the world back in a
which
way.
yeah
So it's like
is
it's gorgeous in the
breathtaking.
fact that even though the world has fallen, the world's still lovely. Yeah.
Like that shot where Ellie and Dina are on the bridge overlooking Seattle, beautiful.
Mm.
That overgrown Seattle shot is like
Great.
I would frame that. It's yeah, really nice.
But yeah, I enjoyed the episode. I think it's not the strongest. I feel like it's on the same par as the first one.
I
If I
agree
were to
with you.
score it, I'd
Yeah.
probably give it an 8. Um, but again, it's because how I felt from it. Like your feelings of your game and your experiences are very different to mine. So for me, when I saw this, I was like, hell yeah, more characters, more craziness. Like, let's go. Like, bring it on.
Mm.
Mm. I I don't mind that. I don't think it dropped when we left Jackson, only because I know we're gonna get like scenes from Jackson probably for the rest of the season, depending who stays there. Um, but my surprise is that we didn't see Abby at all in this episode. Um,
Yeah.
Mm.
and I
Yeah.
hope we get her back next episode. We saw Manny, so I'm guessing we will see her. Um, I don't think she'll go missing for the rest of the season. Or maybe she will until the last scene of the season. Who knows? But yeah, I want more of her. I want more Abby.
I think
And yeah,
thematically it kind of made sense. Like
mm,
this was sort of Ellie centric. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So I
yeah,
guess they didn't want to sort of step on that, while they allowed
mm,
her to have her time, that grieving and that the revenge beginning the journey.
yeah.
Um, it could be an interesting thing. Just literally open up the next episode with us establishing what Abby is doing now. It's been 3 months now. What's the fallout on her side of things?
True, but like, yeah, I don't know. She is like, is there a fallout for what she's dealing with? I feel like she just went back to live her life now, but I do feel like she might. I wonder if she does feel. You know how like they always say like revenge doesn't really make anything better. Like I wonder if like
Hmm.
that if she's fallen victim to that. Cause yeah, I mean
She'll probably still, they'll have a scene of her having that dream again. And then she'll probably be confused as to why she's having this dream if she's eliminated the problem that made her have this dream.
mm,
Something like that. But I think in the last podcast we had, I think I joked that they wouldn't have her at all for the rest of
Yeah,
the
you did.
season.
Yeah.
And if they do that, man, that'll be really weird.
I
But
can't see them doing that. Not at the
I know
pace
you
they're
can't. I know.
not at the pace they're going at. I can't see.
What's yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest fallout for her post Jackson for Abby is the fact that Owen and Mel sort of a little bit more distance ever since, because they're an item now, and Mel didn't like what went down in Jackson. So I think in the games at least she seems not too phased over what happened in herself. She stands by what she did was correct. Um, so it would be interesting. The fact that we did see Manny, I lean into that we'd probably see the rest of them. If we hadn't have got that, we didn't have to see Manny. We could have seen anyone.
Yeah,
But
literally.
the fact that they chose to have him do the little sightsee and give the update of if they could move forwards or not, I think that shows that we probably will see Abby. Though I will think it would be funny if we didn't.
It'll be wild if we see her the last 5 minutes of the season and say something like she said in the game, which is like, you ruined it, and then it ends. And you're like, God damn it.
Here we go again.
I
Yeah.
definitely think we'll see her because Isaac's in the next episode. I would be surprised if we didn't see Abby as well. So
Yeah.
though it's weird she wasn't really in the preview either. So who knows? We will find out next
We will.
time. We will. Do you guys have any other closing thoughts on the episode or the series so far?
No, I'm all good. I think we
I
covered
wish-
it very well.
I just wish they brought more games out for The Last of Us. I genuinely do. After watching all that beautiful,
Yeah.
just world, like,
Yeah.
man.
Not
I wish they put more
not
games
even
in the world.
necessarily games. Like give me like an animated series or just
Just
like
anything.
more stuff. Like a comic
Yeah,
book.
doesn't-
I would buy comics. I would get into comics.
It doesn't have to be about these two. It can be about anyone. You can make
Oh
so many
no.
different stories.
Yeah. Like how many bloody pieces of paper do you pick up in the game with different stories? Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd love for
that's-
them to
From
do a
memory-
short film of like Ish, the one who lived in the sewers. So in season 1, when you're with Sam and everything, and you go through the sewers, and there's that look like there was a bunch of kids and everything staying there. If you read in the games and you get all the collectibles, you get Ish's like whole story of it getting overrun and all this. That would be a cool like short
That would be
animated
good.
film.
Yeah. No, that would be good.
Yeah, part 2 had amazing side stories from memory.
Mm.
Just reading every part of it.
Yeah. All right, well, that marks the end of our The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 3, The Path Spoilercast. Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube and leave a 5-star review on the audio streaming service of your choice so you can get our latest content straight to your feed. I've been your host, Brad, and you can find me at Brad_EXP or Brad Goodwin on Blue Sky. And joining me today has been Jamie.
You can follow me at JamieX66 on Instagram.
And Berto.
You can follow me on Instagram as pause_gamer.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week for episode 4. Bye.